Okay, so to go along with what we've been talking about in class, here are a few shapes that we're going to turn into forms using values and shading. So we have a circle, rectangle, and a square. Now, those are shapes. They're two-dimensional. They have length and width. So we're going to add some form and dimension to them. So take, for instance, the circle. Depending on where the light source is coming from is how we're going to shade it. So let's say, for instance, we have light for the circle coming down from the top right in the direction of the arrow. That would put the shadows on the opposite end. So if the light's coming from the top right, shadows are on the bottom left. So what we could do is we start shading. Now you might want to build up your shading. I'm kind of just using the side of the pencil. I'm also going to darken in. I use these blue colored pencils just to kind of lay in the shape so you get a sense of it before we start drawing them out, just to make it a little bit easier on me as I'm doing this. And if the light's coming from the top right, the shadow's coming from the bottom left. And what I'm doing is I'm starting in lightly. Now, you could use a paper towel. I'm using a finger. You shouldn't really use a finger because your finger has oils. You can also smooth out the shadows if you have a paper towel to do just a basic shading technique. I might then build up the shadows, getting a little bit darker as I go towards the bottom and closer towards the edge. Again, you can smooth out the shadows. And kind of a lesson in do as I say, not as I do. You generally don't want to use your finger because it's going to make smudges. And I can go in even darker. And you want to try and get a full range of value where it gets, you kind of go almost all the way to black or dark gray when you can. So here's now our sphere shaded in. Sometimes it's easier to turn the page and to come at it from a different angle. And what I can also do, and if you're doing a still life, you would see this, put a line for the table. You put a line going from one end and imagine it continuing across through to the other. Now I see the shadows coming this way. I put, let's say, this oval here. And now all of a sudden I have the shadow on the object and I have a cast shadow on this kind of imagined table. Kind of make it seem like now we have an object sitting there occupying space. Now let's take the rectangle. I'll use this as an example for, let's say, a cylinder, right? A rectangle has straight sides. But what we're going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to draw the side straight, and here I drew in with the pencil the bottom and the top straight as well. But if we just curve it slightly and we match that curve at the bottom, the top, let's say, would become an oval. Let's say you're doing the coffee mug that's used as an example, or some kind of mug. I can erase away that line in there. Now, let's say the angle's, the light's coming from a different side. Maybe the light's coming from the top left. That would mean everything on the right and the bottom would be in shadow. So since we can't see the bottom kind of curving under like we do the sphere, we would draw it in from the edge here. Now what I might do, just to show you a different way, I might use the hatching lines. as a shading technique, just to show you a different technique. So where I might draw lines kind of widely spaced apart going across towards the left side of the cylinder, I'm going to make them closer to each other as we get towards the right side. And notice I'm doing the lines in the direction of the curve just to kind of keep that look. You can still kind of do it going across to get the cross hatching, but I still want to get some lines in that direction to give the movement and to give the sense that it's going around, and it'll help kind of round it out. I can even put more lines on the far edge just to really get it looking solid. Pencil. So again, the same thing. If I put the lines of the table, let's say, if the line's coming this way, maybe the cast shadow would look like it's going out that way. And I can draw in my lines of shadow extending out to make it seem like it's sitting on a table. Now for the square, same thing. I start out with the square, but if I add a couple of lines as if you're looking at a box or a cube coming off and out, that square now becomes a box. So all these shapes went from a circle to a sphere, shape to a form, rectangle to a cylinder, shape to a form. Here you went from a square to a box or a cube, shape to a form, and then you kind of just imagine where the light's coming in, whatever it might be. Let's say it's just coming in straight from behind and to the right again or something like that. Then you're gonna, the difference between the square, the cube, and the others is there's no rounded edges. They're all flat sides. So one side is gonna be the darkest. Let's say this side. And you're gonna want the edges to be clean. All right, maybe the top is bright, then maybe the right side of the box isn't as dark as the front, but isn't as light as the top. So maybe kind of just leave it like that. I could do the same thing. And then maybe this, there's the shadow for the box coming out like that. And I can darken that in. So a couple different shading techniques, and I can just kind of go across. Again, even the shadow might have clean lines. Kind of capture the sides and the edges. So it looks like it's casting a shadow in a different direction. And these are all the things you're going to do to help turn these shapes into round, solid objects. You're going to add some value. That's going to make it look real. And then even adding that touch, if you can, if you want to give it a try, of the cast shadows, of the direction of the light, that will add an extra sense of realism as well, including that little line that goes behind the objects, which gives it a sense of space. All right, so I hope this helps in your drawings, and just practice, do your best. However it turns out, it turns out. The idea is that we're trying to develop our shading skills, and we're all starting out at different spots. So just do what you can, and have fun. Enjoy it.